Now, today's program is not only about the magic of food to bring us together, but also about the remarkable reinvention of a man you're going to find really interesting. And with that, I am going to hand it off to Susie Adams.
Great. Thank you, Lou. And thank you, Chef Sam, for being with us today. Can you hear us okay?
I can.
Great. And it looks like you're in the kitchen. Awesome.
I am.
That's great.
My home away from home.
That's right. We're real informal here. So as we talk with Chef Sam, if you have questions or thoughts, please put them in the chat and we'll get to them. And Chef Sam, we wanted to start by getting you to talk about food and what food does for us and your love of cooking. It runs in your family, right? So tell us a little bit about your history.
Sure. Hey, everybody, I'm Sam Diminich, chef and owner of Your Farm to Your Table. Thank you, Susie, for having me, arranging all this. This is great. I'm really honored and privileged to be here. So my history is this. I grew up in a restaurant family. My grandfather was from Trieste. He came over in 1956, or no, I'm sorry, 1952. 4 years later, he opened up the very first Italian restaurant in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which is where I'm from. It was called the Roma Restaurant, and it was him and my grandmother's restaurant. It was an old bed and breakfast, and they lived above it. It's a really neat story. And, so basically the evolution of that was, they had my dad, my uncles, and my aunt, and everybody in the family just worked in the restaurant. That's just what we did. So whenever we came around, there were 5 of us. I'm one of 5 siblings, 5 children. And we all worked in the restaurant, and we all started bussing tables or washing dishes. And then we worked our way up from there for the most part. For me personally, I'm the only son out of my siblings. I'm the only boy. And, so for me growing up, I thought it was the coolest thing to come to my dad's restaurant after school or, after baseball practice and walk in the kitchen and feel the energy and, the pace and the excitement. Of course, everything, all the senses, all those, the boxes for senses were checked, with the aromas from, the food that we cooked and we served. And, overall, like the main undercurrent of all that was just taking care of people, and so that's how I was raised. That's what we were brought up to do. And I'm lucky enough, fast forward to 2020, to be able to do that now with my own business here at Your Farm to Your Table.
Great, thanks. One of the things that I think led to you being named as one of the Charlotteans of the year, along with a couple of other Interact friends, Molly and Taiwo, was a word that got overused during the pandemic, pivot. But your pandemic pivot is probably one of the most unusual, not just in this region, but anywhere. You began the year by beating Bobby Flay. You beat him. And the restaurant UpStream things were going great. Then tell us about that and tell us what happened.
Yeah, okay. I'm happy to. So I've been the UpStream for the past 3 years. And the shopping center where UpStream was located was called Phillips Place Shopping Center. All right. And so the past couple of years, Phillips Place Shopping Center had been kind of under renovation. And I'm mentioning all that because, that affected us. Right. And so we had anticipated 2020 being a strong year for us because the shopping center would be renovated. There was a place called Restoration Hardware that was being built right in front of us to drive a lot of traffic in. So, I mentioned all that to say that, it was a 3-year process of extremely hard work and dedication and commitment. And, And, so we had high hopes for 2020. The food was coming together, management team, service team, all, the stars had appeared to be lining up for us. And yeah, I did the Food Network. We did Bobby Flay, and that was a really, really good time. I have lots of Bobby Flay stories to share at some point, maybe not today, but another time. But yeah, I won. And, and it aired in January. Filmed about 9 months prior, aired in January. And so that was really, really cool to be able to share that with the community and my children and all of that. Okay, so, to fast forward to March, to be honest with you, I had blinders on. I was so focused on the restaurant and this year and what we had planned. I was not in the loop, so to speak, what was going on globally with the pandemic. And so everything that happened that affected me and my team and my restaurant happened very, very quickly. So so there was a lot of emotions going on. A lot of decisions had to be made and had to be made quickly. And, so it was a very, very difficult time, for myself being in the food and beverage industry, of course, my team and the company as a whole, which I'm proud to say I worked for, a total of 7 years. So yeah, I mean, on a Sunday afternoon, I think it was the 15th of March, we had decided, we'd held an emergency meeting, decided to close for lunch and try to see where that would take us. Okay, so we were trying to limit our costs. So closing lunch was a conversation, and we agreed upon that. And then 2 days later, a Tuesday afternoon, this is how quickly it happened. So that 2 days later, that Tuesday afternoon, we were shut down, we were closing, and everybody would be laid off / furloughed, right? So everything was very, very fluid, and it happened very, very quickly. So, that was the first time, in a long time that, I wasn't employed, didn't have a restaurant to go to, didn't have a kitchen, and it was, so that created a lot of feelings, a lot of sadness, and, just a lot of confusion. So without really knowing what was going to happen next, a couple things happened, and this is a pretty cool story about, I think how God has an opportunity to impact people's lives. I got a call from a farmer that I've been working with for a long time. And, he just had this desperate tone in his voice. He didn't know what he was going to do. All the restaurants were closing down, but he had a whole season's worth of crops, right? And when I say a whole season's worth of crop, it's from September through December, and on actually September through, that would be the spring. So September through the spring. So there was a big transition. My point is that he had a lot, he had a season's worth of crops, and didn't know what he was going to do with them. And, was just reaching out, so that, coupled with the fact that I needed to find a way to make a living. I'm a father of 2 children. I'm a divorced dad. So, I had to find a way to make a living. So one thing led to another. I told this particular farmer, his name is Isaac, out of Winston-Salem. His farm is called Harmony Ridge Farms, that I'm going to support him. I don't know how, I don't know to what extent, but I'm going to come to you and I'm going to buy whatever it is you have that's available that needs to go first. So, so this beautiful produce that he grows isn't wasted. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to engineer a 3-course menu. It's going to change every day, so that I can use up whatever you have. It doesn't have to be repetitive, and I don't have to dictate what I purchase from you. You can dictate what you sell to me. However, I can support you, and so that's how that's how our relationship always kind of been. But that's how Your Farms, Your Table began.
That's great. So cool. And would love for you to tell, well, wait just one second. Before we do that, we want to give you all an opportunity to win a meal from Your Farms, Your Table. And I promise I'm a good customer and it's fantastic. So but you have to work for your meal. And the first question, Patrick, if you could put that up on the screen. So what meal did Chef Sam prepare to beat Bobby Flay? Was it shrimp and grits or lobster risotto? And the seventh correct answer will be our meal winner. So just put your answer in the chat and we'll let Chef Sam answer that for us a little bit later.
I'm glad I didn't give that away.
Yeah, well, it's okay. It's okay. We're all about the fun here. So you started this concept, and then what happened? What has surprised you? What have you learned in the process?
Yeah, well, I should precede all that by saying that, I got sober 6 years ago, right? So it's been 6 years. And so I'm heavily invested in the recovery community. Right. And so that's all right. So I stay connected, to a solution-based fellowship, right? We don't, that's our mindset, and so a lot of the direction, a lot of the questions that, a lot of the answers that I hadn't even had questions yet, would come up during our Ben's Friends meetings, in conversations, just regarding life and decisions and food and beverage. So that has to be mentioned, right? So I got to give credit where credit's due. The rest of, the story, it almost kind of goes in chapters, right? I started everything in my apartment, in my little tiny apartment. And, we started out doing 10 meals a day. And that was like the projection that I could meet, to pay all my bills and wait for UpStream to open back up. Like that's where my mind was. And so we got a little write-up in Charlotte Agenda. And I hope I'm answering your question here, but we got a little write-up in Charlotte Agenda. And so 10 meals a day turned into 30 meals a day, right? Because the write-up was super positive, and Charlotte Agenda has a very, very broad reach in the area. They have a lot of subscribers, and so so that coupled with the fact that, I have this voice now, and I was able to use my voice to, to help, tell the stories of other people, the farmers and suppliers more specifically. Everything kind of took off, and so in September we moved into where I am now, which is on the west side of Charlotte. It's called City Kitchen. It's a commissary kitchen, and that's it's given me a lot more resources than my little tiny apartment would, where we were literally plating up on couches and I have a big pit bull. So sometimes she it's funny. She would ride with me on deliveries and it's just a cool story. And I got to say this too. I have an older sister that lives here in Charlotte, and she has been instrumental in helping me develop systems, to put systems in place and guide and direct the company as a whole.
Yeah, it's really remarkable because you had the idea at a time when people were trapped in their homes, mm-hmm. and were looking for convenient solutions. And they also wanted to help. They wanted to help this industry that was struggling so much. So it was kind of a magical combination. So before we move on, tell us what you beat Bobby Flay. What was your meal?
The Beat Bobby Flay? Well, the answer is, and whenever I did the Bobby Flay show, we used to have to say lines like this and then do a big pause, for dramatic effect. So the answer is, it was lobster risotto.
Yeah. Great. So what has surprised you the most about the new business model? What did you not anticipate as you started down this path?
Oh, wow. I have to say that for me, I just felt like what I was doing was the right thing to do. And it was nothing extraordinary about it. Right. And, and I mean that, but the outpouring of support from the community, and the traction that, it's given myself and my family, as business owners, has really, really surprised me the most, and it's, there's a whole, so I think, I have this relationship with the community, right? And so in order to have a healthy relationship, I think in life, whether it be friendships, partners, whatever, you have to have trust and you have to have communication, and all of that has to be nurtured, so it's been a new, really, really touching and, just a heartwarming experience to be able to nurture a relationship with a community like this. I would have never seen this coming, last year, 6 years ago, 2 years ago, you know what I mean? So that's been I'd have to say that's been the biggest surprise. And so, all that being said, we've had a couple of opportunities to give back. I'll touch on a couple of things that we're doing as far as growth, right? So, so being a business owner for the first time, I'm able to, direct how we want to operate. And we've been able to do a couple of different fundraisers this year that has given me an opportunity to get back and say thank you to the same community that has helped me, lifted me up, and guided me along the way. And so one of which was Ben's Friends, which is near and dear to my heart. It's a food and beverage, sober, recovery-based fellowship, and also 100 Black Men of America, which is an organization that mentors African-American youth and helps shape their lives, and gives them opportunities that not everybody has, right? And so that's been incredibly important to us. The next is we're going to start lunch service next month, and then we'll start a catering and events wing as well. And then hopefully by the end of 2021, we'll have a 501c3 wing as well that'll help feed and employ underprivileged peoples of our community, specifically, the homeless people.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. That's really great. One of the other things that you do is you support and really promote local farmers markets. Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I got to say this too. Near where I live in Cotswold, there's a Chick-fil-A, right? And so this Chick-fil-A, ever since the pandemic started and I was able to not be at work every day, I've realized that there's a line of cars at this Chick-fil-A every single day, right? That drives me crazy because there are so many local and independent restaurants, chefs, that have put years, months, weeks, time, commitment, into making a great chicken sandwich. I mentioned that because it was very symbolic on my conscience and on my heart, my decision making on how I was going to kind of direct the next phase of my life. And so, I'd ride by that Chick-fil-A every day, mid morning or afternoon, and see that line of cars on our way to a farm or a farmer's market. And and that motivated me. That keeps a fire lit within me, as far as supporting the people that are the real salt of the earth and the fabric, of our community. And those are the farmers and suppliers. Now, as far as local farmers go and farmers markets, I love Matthews Farmers Market. I also love Atherton. Uptown Market is one that we frequent. And as far as farms goes, everywhere from Winston-Salem on down to Kankakee, South Carolina, we've dropped, and Gaston County as well. We paid a visit to.
Great, that's wonderful. And one of the things that you do that you didn't mention is on when you deliver a meal, it tells you where the products were sourced. So it's a good idea of where some of those local opportunities and local markets and farmers are. I have another question I want to ask you, but I think it may lead into our next trivia question. So Patrick, if we could put that question up. So Sam knew that on election night, a lot of us would need to comfort food. And he provided a kind of unique or unusual comfort food meal on election night. What was it? Lasagna or meatloaf and mashed potatoes? And if you just put your answer in the chat, and Patrick, I think our fourth correct answer will be our winner. So, Chef Sam, What has been your most popular meal? What meal have you gotten the most feedback on?
Oh, wow. Probably the crab cakes that we do on Mondays. Have you had those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That would have to be it. But see, the thing is, you know, I have tried to set up, you know, a formula where the proteins are on a schedule, but whatever I garnish first, you want to, yeah. Thank you, man. I'm getting a tuna delivery here.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was just flown in from San Diego for an event tonight. Yeah, so crab cakes, Monday nights. But the cool thing about that is that availability and whatever is fresh still writes the rest of the menu for us. So I go to the markets every day, every single day, 8 o'clock, 7 in the morning, 8 o'clock. I was up this morning, out and about. And so, you know, the markets will write the rest of the menu for me. But it has to be the crab cakes. That crab cake recipe probably took me 2 years. And it has a little bit, you know, I'm from the South, but I also lived up north. So it has a little bit of Maryland and a little bit of low country and a whole lot of Charlotte, North Carolina.
And what was the election night meal?
Oh, that was lasagna.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's my grandfather's recipe. You know, and I grew up eating that. You know, I'd sneak into the restaurant and take a big spoonful and put it in a plate, pop it in the microwave, you know, after baseball practice or soccer practice. And it's so good. It really is so good. So yeah, all credit goes to him. You know, we're just carrying the torch, so to speak.
That's great. So how about a holiday hack for a home cook?
Oh, you mean like a tip?
Yeah, tip. Give us a hack.
Yeah. Order from Your Farms, Your Table. We'll take care of everything. How about that? we have Christmas. We have holiday packages available up until cutoff is Sunday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. And the lasagna is one of those options, if I'm not mistaken.
You can get a full tray of lasagna as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Abundant portions.
Good.
So, yeah.
Good. So you talked a little bit about what you see and what you're planning for next year. Are there other things that you're thinking about as potentially we emerge from this somewhat quarantine that we're all living in? What do you see in the food and beverage industry in 2021?
Well, on a personal level, you know, I plan on collaborating with a lot of other smaller businesses, right, to support them, and they can support me. Over here at City Kitch, we're home to 17 different chefs, everybody trying to use their own voice and create their own voice in order to make an impact. So I plan on doing a lot of collaborations, lifting people up, you know, with food. We still have food, like that hasn't been lost on us, you know, and food is, I think for me personally, food is so powerful, so unifying. And, you know, I think it's something that despite, you know, the way the world is sometimes, we can still agree upon that. So, you know, those are my plans, you know, just stay on course and, you know, serve the community as best I can.
That's great. Thank you so much, Chef Sam. And I think that's a perfect way to end. Food unifies. It really does. It brings us together, and it's something everyone can agree upon.
That's right.
So Lou, with that, we'll kick it back to you.
Great. And perhaps we can make sure that Chef Sam's information is in the chat for everyone. But thank you so much, Chef. I'll tell you, we celebrate authenticity here, just the genuine heart that shines through and how influential that is. And what a great way to wrap up our year with you. Your story is one that it just helps us make sense of a nonsensical year and restores our faith in God's presence in everything. So we thank you for helping us usher out this year. again, everyone, think about that recipe that you love and how food unites us, and think about including it in your Christmas meal, and think about too participating in Chef Sam's incredible offering that has such a remarkable story behind it. We'll be back on the 14th of January, and again, it will be to look at the radical non-resolution, what that means, and if you have a goal, how you might go about it. But since we've been together now for, well, since March 15th, about the time that Chef Sam started discontinuing lunch, and in no time at all we all had realized what was coming about with the pandemic. Thank you for being with us. We wish you a happy holiday and a new year that is kinder and gentler to us all. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Thanks again, Chef Sam.